Hi, my name is Stephanie, and today I'm going to be introducing you to another Stephanie. And I'm going to actually be interviewing her because, as you might actually be able to see on her shirt, she is an autism mom. And I know that the actually autistic community sometimes can kind of butt heads with autism parents. And I kind of wanted to introduce Stephanie. We are actually planning on working on a project to help parents and families with autistic family members from both a parent and autistic person's perspective. So I just kind of wanted to introduce her and maybe interview her and ask her some questions and all that. So if you want to say hello.
Hello. I actually have one channel, and that's more planner related, but I'm planning on doing another channel, but it's not quite came together yet. So more details on that one.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. So anyhow, yeah.
So I guess what started your autism parent journey of wonderful life? I don't know, just talking now.
The ups and downs and all the wonderful things. Pregnancy. No, I'm kidding.
Right. Like, well, gee.
So I actually have two kids on the spectrum, and they're both low functioning, level 3. And so the oldest one actually developed pretty typically. At 6 months, he was saying some words. About a year, he stopped talking altogether and started having some issues. That's about the time that I had my second one. And so that next year, we spent trying to get services and trying to figure out, hey, why did you just stop talking? Like,
right.
My second one, he actually started showing like sensory processing issues at like 2 weeks to a month old. Like, he would actually cringe whenever I picked him up. Like, he would flinch away from my touch. And I got on the internet and was like, oh, what is this about? Because that's very odd for a child that small. So I found some stuff about sensory processing disorder. I started feeding him without a shirt on. That's what they said to do. And he still has sensory processing disorder, but he doesn't cringe away from your touch. He doesn't mind being touched. In fact, now, as far as I know, he can't talk, so he might not like it.
So like he doesn't like flinch away. Like,
yeah, or he doesn't like get angry if you touch him. Yeah. So, and that kind of started our journey to heading down the roads to get diagnosed and getting into speech and occupational therapy and all the other things that you do. So it started pretty young for us.
What age were they diagnosed?
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah. In fact, I had got the referral for my oldest, and it was actually kind of funny because we had an in-home speech therapist coming for the youngest, and I was telling him that the oldest had this appointment, whatever, and that we'd have to rearrange our appointment because it's during that time. And he was like, hey, next time I come out, can I bring my coworker with me? And I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, why would you? But whatever, sure, bring them. That's cool. And at that next appointment, he actually was like, I didn't know how to say this. That's why I brought, my friend with me. And I was like, I'm just sitting here like thinking, dude, get to the point.
Right.
Like, I'm a very straightforward person, so I'm like, get to the point. And so basically he was like, I think when you go, you need to talk to her about seeing Tristan too. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured. Like, I was like, yeah, there was like this, like, there's this thing in the back of my mind that was kind of thinking that too. Which is funny. Then I just took Tristan with me to Evan's appointment, his older brother's appointment, and at the end of the appointment is when I was like, oh yeah, by the way, and excuse me, I go, oh yeah, by the way, can I talk to you about maybe some Tristan too. And she goes, I kid you not. She goes, oh, thank God. Like, she scoots like back in her chair. She's like, oh, thank God you said something. She's like, I've been sitting here all this whole last hour trying to figure out how to tell you I needed to see the other child too for this. And I'm still friends with her. In fact, I talked to her like about 6 months ago, and like we laughed about it now. But yeah, she was like, so and she actually told me, you're probably, like, Tristan, the younger one, is going to be worse off. You're going to have more issues with him. And she was right.
With learning more about it and experiencing it and, you know, understanding what I'm saying and stuff like that. For example, recently there was a child who, at the very least, definitely has sensory processing issues, cannot handle noises, like, at all. And he does finger flicking and, like, he takes things very literally, and I'm just like, oh, you're so cute, but you're definitely on the spectrum with me, like, you know. But you know, you can't tell the kid that. That's kind of awkward. So I'm like, you know, like, can we tell their parents, like, this is what's happening? Because like that would really help. But I noticed that a lot of people are like, why would you say that? Like, why would you tell someone that? And I'm like, wouldn't that help? But so I guess what I'm trying to get to is, like, do you think, or like, did you find it at the beginning, like, scary or offensive that someone might suggest your child would be on the spectrum? And do you also think that maybe some other parents, without, you know, before they know more about it, like, feel that way maybe?
So whenever they first said autism, I was like, what in the world is that? Like, because my only, like, whatever at that point, 'cause this was 2006, five or six, I can't remember. So my only point of reference to autism was the Bruce Willis movie with I don't know the name of it to save my life. And then Rain Man, of course. So those were my only 2 points of reference, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Right.
I was like, I don't know about that. And then as I started to learn more and become more aware of, like, what it was, I was like, oh, spot on with it. Like, that's so my kids. But with that being said, like, I told you about the playgroup that I formed when they were little. There was one of the parents in there who had a child who had a language delay. And I guess one day it came up, like, could this be autism? And I was just, I'm kind of like you, like, in that whole, like, scientific thing, like, well, this, and this is the, because there was no, at that time there was no, what is it, CARS, the standardized test for autism. And it was just a long list of, like, if you have X amount of these, then you would be considered autistic.
Like, if you meet these random standards for, like, the DSM-4 maybe at the time?
There wasn't even that. It was just literally a list of things. I had to see if I could find that information just to kind of, like, put that out there. Started taking off all these things to this lady, and she really didn't take it very well. In fact, I think she didn't really talk to me for several months. Like, I really offended her. And I finally had to be like, look, I didn't mean to, but at the same time, like, you know, he's having issues, you really need to see someone. And you need to get those addressed, because people are mean.
Yeah.
And kids are mean. If he's having a stuttering problem or something, kids are going to make fun of him. And I mean, I just saw a hot mess happening, and I've learned to, you know, just gently throw that out there to the parent.
Have you heard of this thing called autism?
Let me loan you this book that I have. You might want to read that.
I would have liked to know when I was younger, and I feel like maybe them as parents might be able to deal with things better.
So do you think that knowing at a younger age, do you think that things would be different, or, like, you would be able to handle certain things better?
See, and, like, a lot of people have asked me this too.
I mean, it's
like,
hard to say too, because you're like, oh, maybe not.
See, I think, like, it would have helped by the time I hit, like, middle school.
Yeah, where, like, but I mean, because middle school and high school is kind of hard, period. Like, because everybody's kind of at that awkward age where they're trying to figure themselves out. because for me as a parent, like I've always tried to walk this fine line, like am I okay, so you guys have got to be nice because I don't know how else to phrase this, but like am I making them more disabled by doing this, or am I making them more abled? Like like that fine line, like, you know, like if autism is just better diagnosed now than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, like that certain set of people developed okay and eventually become, you know, they're still a little awkward or whatever, but God help us. You know, I feel like I'm just messing this up. But you know what I mean? Like, am I just making that worse? Am I making that more of a handicap than I'm trying to help them to overcome it? So I feel like that's kind of one of those fine lines, you know? Because I see people who, not just autism, but all sorts of things, where it's like that fine line and they're making it worse versus helping. And so that's always been one of my biggest concerns, like, where is that line and am I crossing it, if that makes sense.
See, and like this is something that like I think is important to like talk about, because like I think also with parents, it's like parents are so different anyway. So like there's some people who like, my child is incapable of literally anything because of a diagnosis, which isn't fair and isn't true, you know. But then a lot of the autistics that I've talked to or come across who were late diagnosed or late informed, a lot of them really wish their parents had told them.
So they didn't tell them?
Yeah,
like,
so there's some late informed. Yeah, so I know one in particular who was like really upset at their parents because they wondered.
Because again, I think that's a fine line. Like, you don't want to hide this, like, you know, like they need to know so that they can maybe learn to self-regulate better in certain situations. Yeah, it's just that fine line, you know, and because again, I don't want my kids to be like, well, I'm autistic, I can't.
Right, like this is my get out of jail free card situation, like,
Because I mean, okay, so like vacuuming, like I admit now, looking back, like, man, you kind of pushed a little too hard on that one. But I was like, they're gonna learn to clean house. Like, they're going to learn to clean house. God gave them 2 working hands, arms, feet, legs, and the mental capacity to do this. They're going to learn how to do clean house. End of story. And the vacuum cleaner, yeah, we gave up with that one.
Like, there's some battles.
There's some battles that are just better left, because especially Tristan, my younger one, he just can't handle the vibration of the handle and the noise and all the things. Like, it's just too much for him. It's sensory overload. And but I made him try. I mean, I pushed him to try, and maybe a little harder than I should have. But you know, it is what it is. You know, again, that fine line, like where you know. So, you know, I don't want them to feel like they can't do something because they have this diagnosis.
Right. See, and I think like kind of referencing what we're planning on doing in the future, I think it's good to hear from, you know, I guess the point of view of a parent versus just of the autistic, because I mean, I've seen stuff going online where some people are like, well, you know, you can't complain about specifically being an autism parent because you should just raise your children how you raise children, like you learn with them, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that's fair, because even as an autistic person, I know I have different challenges. Well, like, it's a unique difference. Like, there is a difference. There's a lot of judgment, I guess, against parents.
I mean, I don't know, because I feel like some parents like feel like some autistic creators or people who put themselves out there, they feel attacked. And I think there's a point where we all just need to chill out. Yeah. Just need to chill out. Yes, because I mean, I've came across video, and we were just talking about this the other day. You know, I've came across videos where like they were attacking the parents, and they were attacking the parents, and I mean, it got to the point where I was like, you know, mind you guys, this person was younger. And I'm like, you have no life experiences. You have no reason to be, I felt like they were attacking their parents and parents in general. Like, there's a part where they were attacking their parents, and there's a part where they were attacking parents in general. I'm like, you have no right to attack someone when you've never been in that situation. And I had to close down my computer, walk away, and just let it be, because they really did get under my skin. But, you know, again, after I sat down and I had let it calm down and I came back and revisited it, I did get where they were coming from. I did understand what they were trying to say. Be it probably not the best way to say it, but I did understand what they were trying to say. And hopefully I think I learned something. You know, just hopefully I learned something from that, because I don't want my kids to feel that way. But open that conversation and learn from each other, because and I know you guys probably hear this a lot, like, you do not know what it's like to be a parent till you're a parent. And that's like, because your entire world changes. Everything changes in your life. The focus is no longer you. It is taking this other being and making it into, well, not making it, but helping it to come into being a full, happy, healthy human being. So, I mean, it is different for, you know, a parent versus the person. And we do need to listen to, because, like, my kids are both nonverbal. My oldest son has some verbal skills, but, like, he doesn't have the ability to sit down and say, like, that hurt my feelings, or that made me feel bad, or, you know, he doesn't have that kind of, like communication skills. Yeah, so it is helpful for me to talk to someone like Stephanie and many of the other YouTube creators out there that have autism, so that they can kind of explain that to me, like the meltdown, like how you feel when you're having a meltdown. Like, I've seen several videos. I think, did you collab with several people? Yeah, I think I've watched almost all of those videos. Like, I binge watched them. But that was very informative to me, because I don't know what that feels like. I just see how it manifests. And the flip side of that is, I don't know if you guys know what that looks like to us.
Right.
You know? Right.
And to have, like, that understanding of, like, how scary that might be to you.
Right. Especially if you, like, don't know what's going on. So, like, we've had one in the middle of Walmart. And that freaked a whole lot of people out, and I was fully waiting for the police department to pull me over on the way home, because this is how many people. I mean, one lady even followed me to my car. Like, I was seriously afraid that she called the police and I was going to be pulled over on the way home. And part of me was like, this was like the worst meltdown we've ever had in our life. Like, catastrophic, off the charts, crazy meltdown. Yeah. At that point, I was like, so if I get pulled over, do I volunteer to be arrested? Oh, no. Or do I see if he can put my kid in the back of his car? Because, I mean, even on the way home, like, Tristan was in the back seat flipping around, and I mean, I thought he was going to break a window in my car. It was horrible. But we had to get home. Do I ask him if he can take him and, you know, drive him home? Like, which way do I go with this? Right. So, you know, so that's the flip side. Like, do you guys realize what somebody who doesn't know what that is, what that looks like to them? Right. You know? So, yeah, like, it's interesting, because, like, I think, like, I guess, like, the neurotypical versus neurodiverse response to the same situation is interesting, because we're both scared, I think. Right. And handling it in different ways. Right. Yes. And then, like, of course, then when it's public, you mix in all of those people and what they think is the right thing to do, and like, think, oh, is this person just acting out? And, you know, like, being a parent, like, I'm sure, like, all the different people who tell you, like how you should handle that. And then God knows if people try to step in and handle it themselves, like, because some people think they know better than everyone else. And it's right. Like, wow. I had a lady, like, you know, wheelchair following me, and I'm like, I usually try not to yell at people in wheelchairs. Like, I don't know, there's just some, like, right, you know, that's kind of thing about that. I don't know. Might not be the best idea in the world. But she's following us through Walmart while he's having this thing, and all I can literally hear is him screaming, but like somewhere way off in the distance, I can hear her voice, and I turn around and I'm like, what's going on? Just leave us alone.
Like, is there a right way to handle things? Like, oh my God.
Probably wasn't the right way, but that's what happened that day. It's fine. I mean, I was like, you're not helping me at all.
Right.
Just leave me alone.
Right.
It's so
Right. Well, like, and then from like the autistic perspective, like, my husband is very sweet. He's been learning a lot, but pretty recently, like, I was like probably like first stages of a meltdown, and the continued like verbal demand to explain what's happening or why something's happening is not helpful. Like,
Right.
But like he's trying to help.
He's trying, but he's not in a very ill. And see, and I think that's what I've done, especially with Tristan, my younger son. I think I've tried to help him, and just my ignorance, just not knowing. I think that's made it worse, and I think like throughout time, like we figured it out. Because,
Yeah.
But again, you have the verbal skills to be like, dude, so not helpful.
Right. Well, like in a meltdown, I don't, but you know, like
Right,
in
but
after and before,
afterwards,
and you know,
yeah.
like, you know, in other times, you know, in hindsight, I can say, maybe not, maybe not like
don't
that.
let's not do that again. Just try not that. Let's try to do something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too, is like we need to learn to like just love each other.
So as Stephanie just said, but this
Stephanie.
just said, I don't know if we caught it because my camera was like, I want to quit working and recording this. But she was saying, you know, just to like love each other and to understand, you know, be accepting of people and differences, and we're learning, and it's a learning process, and it's gonna be okay.
And
so yeah, go ahead.
people make mistakes.
Yes. I think that's a train. So what we're gonna do
Train.
is gonna very quickly exit it.
Yes.
So thank you so much for interviewing.
Thank you for having me. Not that we're on a time clock.
If you guys want to check out her current channel, you do planning.
Yeah, I'm Autism Mom Plans. I do planning stuff, and then I am going to start another channel where I just sit down and talk about raising 2 kids with autism. So
Yeah, so if you want to check those out, and whenever, I'll get the links, put them in the description box. You definitely should check her out, and hopefully we'll see how we can kind of do with the scheduling for the videos that we're planning to put out. We're really excited about it. Really excited to hear that you guys are excited about it, because I have mentioned it before in a live stream.
Yeah.
And people were like really excited.
I'm so excited.
So I'm
'cause
excited.
I really just want people to learn.
Go ahead and check her out. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave it a like, and let us know your comments about all of this. Let us know your thoughts about all of this in the comments below. And I put out autism related content every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you're having a wonderful week.